Well, hello. Hi, friends. We hit 20,000 subscribers, and I'm waiting to wake up from this stream. I'm so grateful that so many of you are still here, still supporting, still encouraging me to try and make this my dream of being full-time. And honestly, every single little bit helps. Some people don't think free support is a lot, but watching a video, that goes such a long way. If you are here listening to this, you have contributed massively to helping. Some people think that they need to pay money to be seen as worthy or have value here. In this community, you don't need that. You don't need to spend to have a good time. I value you regardless. I always want to reiterate that. I say it all the time, but I always want to reiterate that because it's most important to me, that I want you to understand how valuable you are without any of that, any of the other crap. But thank you so much. It's really hard to get my head around that. There are 20,000 people supporting me here. 10,000 was already like mind-blowing. 20,000, just like, that's a venue capacity. That some venues don't even hold 20,000. Like that, it's really hard for me to comprehend. But I'm so grateful, and I had my crying earlier, so hopefully I might get a bit emotional, but I think I'm okay for now. There are times where I do get overwhelmed. We are never out of the woods. I've been a bit sick, but my throat is a lot better tonight, so I wanted to do this while we're still fresh at 20,000. I wanted to do a Q&A because a while back, some of you may have seen a post of mine in my posts tabs that said Q&A in big bold letters, and I wanted to gather some questions. That was when I had hit 10,000, which was only a short while ago. I wanted to gather a few questions so we had a decent amount. And we've probably got about 20 questions, honestly. There's 29 comments. I might not be able to get through them all, but I'm going to give it a go. I've got it here. I don't know if this is any good. This saves me editing, which can take a lot of time, and I put editing off all of the time. So we're going to go through it like this. Okay, so let's find the first question. Okay, question number 1. What are your hobbies outside of music? Dave asked. Some people did ask some of the same questions. Some people didn't ask questions and just made a comment. So I've just removed the ones that aren't actual questions or requests for songs. Doesn't really go in there. I've learned that a lot of people try and put requests for songs in any place they absolutely can. For this, I just wanted questions for you to get to know me a bit more. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I share my whole life with people almost, to an extent, to a healthy extent. Some would say, some would argue that's not. But I wanted to give you a better picture because some of you only know surface level or music level. So, what are your hobbies outside of music? My hobbies outside of music. So I haven't really written down or prepared answers for this. I wanted to go through what goes through my head. Now, I have ADHD. I have a ton of hobbies. I absolutely love art. That is one of my other passions that I don't get a lot of time to enjoy. I do body painting. You might see from my Instagram particularly in my Instagram, I've got some story highlights at the top of my page where I've got some old Instagram posts where I've done body painting. I absolutely love body painting. I've painted myself as various characters. I have a lot of game characters, and I've really enjoyed that. Some of them have taken like 12.5 hours, I think was one of my longest, just for me to paint from my torso up, and maybe wear a wig and maybe paint my face. There are different ones I've done. I've done Bob Ross pieces, where I've just painted what looks like a t-shirt on. I've done X-Men. I've done a lot of Marvel characters. I've done some other bits and bobs. I did a Joker that was quite funny, and I painted the front of my hair green, and I love it. I love creating weird art. So painting myself, and I've done that live on stream a few times, is incredibly fun. It is very draining though. 12 hours painting myself takes a very long time. It takes 12.5 hours. But then there are things like taking photos and videos and trying to make sure I've got the content before washing it off, which takes like 10 minutes sometimes, and it's heartbreaking seeing it all come off very quickly. I also became Vecna from Stranger Things. That was quite something. I had special effects glue and tissue paper on my face to make it look like these Vecna 3D weirdness. I don't know. But you'll see a lot of those in my Instagram, and I'm always happy to share those. I would love to do more. And people do ask me when am I going to do more. I have to take out a whole day of work, and it's exhausting, but it's fun. And I'm left-handed. Painting my right arm is fine. Well, it's not fine. Also, like, I have tattoos, so I have to cover those up in white first for the paint to show up. There's lots of different techniques. This probably requires a whole other video, but you know what? We'll talk about that in another video. But I'm very passionate about it. I love it. Then I also like to read, though again, reading doesn't. No, do you know what? Let's go back. I know I go on tangents all the time, but painting myself, I have to use my right hand to paint my left arm, and that's quite fun. And I also use a camera and a screen and a mirror, and that's how I do it, really. A lot of people seem to be impressed by it. I think it's quite fun. I haven't body painted anyone else yet. I've done people's makeup, but it's a different angle that you use, so I imagine that would be the same with body painting. Other hobbies, I love to read. I love photography, but I haven't done it properly since I was at college. So very arty, creative things, or getting lost inside a book. I love to play games, which a lot of you probably already know now. I play games quite often. I have a morning stream on TikTok, and I have an evening stream on Twitch. Evening streams on Twitch are usually 3 times a week, although I've been sick lately, so that's been a bit of a difficult one, but yeah, we're going to get back on track, hopefully. All right. There are lots of other things. I love to travel. I love to experience other cultures and understand other cultures and live other cultures. I went to Hawaii last year with my partner, and it was the best holiday I've ever been on. It's fantastic. I never thought I'd get to go there or be a once in a lifetime experience. And meeting people over there, he does wrestling refereeing, and was invited to guest on a special promotion there. And we met some wonderful people who not only welcomed us to that show, but some people came and took us around Hawaii and showed us like local cuisine, and basically we could see the world or see the place through locals' eyes, which is just such a wonderful, beautiful thing to be able to do in an otherwise quite touristy area that we were staying in. Yeah, I love traveling. I love experiencing other cultures. I love everything. I love seeing the beauty of the world. So that's the first 10 minutes done. What was your favorite kind of music before you started this channel? I know you're finding your taste changing, even though it's early days yet. That was from Gay. Thank you, Gay. My tastes aren't really changing so much, although I've never listened to so much symphonic metal, and I'm going to be listening to so much more Nightwish, Epica. I've really enjoyed listening to symphonic metal. I don't know, the orchestras that they have, and the how powerful it is. I'm loving that. I'm loving seeing more creative artists. I like seeing things like the Aryan Project, Avantasia. There are so many to list, but I've really enjoyed those, and I guess I didn't listen to stuff like that as much before. I listened to a lot of rock, metal, some pop even. I've listened to everything. I love jazz, but I don't listen to enough jazz music or jazz composers as such. I liked the idea of going to a jazz bar, and for my birthday this year, for the very first time I went to a jazz bar for my birthday. It was quite an intimate one, and it was a really nice experience. So I love doing stuff like that. It felt quite fancy and quite cool to go and experience that. There are a lot of jazz clubs that I'd love to go to. They're quite expensive, some of them, but this one was a really good price. So that was cool. But yeah, I don't my music tastes aren't changing as such in terms of like going further out of the rock and rock subgenres or heavy genres. I love heavy music, but it's not all heavy. There's a lot of melodic, but it tends to be melodic rock and stuff. And then I like things like the pop music stuff. I guess because it's quite mainstream, and it's, if you hear it on the radio, although I don't listen to the radio that much, but my mum does at the moment. She listens to radio too quite often. So if there's something that's like mainstream, we probably hear it. Or they do also play some of the oldies on radio too. So I kind of like the oldies as well. Yeah, I'd say my tastes haven't changed that much, other than adding symphonic metal onto that a bit more. And I feel like it's enhancing my taste in that sense, because I would have listened to that had I found that sort of music previously. I just didn't. I don't know how I didn't come across it before. Goosebump 801 says, what line of work are you in? Something related to music/art? No, I wish, actually. And a lot of people think I'm musically inclined because I work in the industry or I play music. I also wish. I own a guitar that has been gathering dust for years. I learned the guitar. I started learning. I was in my 20s, I think, and maybe early 20s. But my teacher, I had a bad experience with my teacher, I wish I could start up again, and I should. I really should. I think people should bug me to try and learn again, like even just basic chords again. I did a mean G chord and a C. No, I also have like double jointed fingers, and these two are most obvious, kind of weird looking. Weird facts about my hands. I also have weird thumbs. I have a thing called nail patella, but I don't know if anyone has ever heard of that. If anyone has, let me know in the comments, because it's quite rare. My family all have it. But this, my uncles used to say that you'd be really musically inclined if you have double jointed fingers. And my sisters and I played the piano when we were younger. I have a twin sister and a younger sister, Mel and Kay. And we just didn't carry it on. It was like one of those hobbies that you go through a little phase and then you lose touch and you don't keep it up. Or the teacher that we had, we just didn't always go up there, or I don't know, it just kind of faded out. And I would have loved to be able to play the piano or the guitar now. And I even had a very small stint of playing the drums, and that was really fun, but I couldn't understand I couldn't do the what feels like an offbeat but perfectly natural for drums. I felt very out of that rhythm, but I really did like learning the guitar, even though it hurt my fingers. But I understand that you build up a tolerance if you keep up with it. Back to Goosebumps' question, what line of work are you in? I juggle a lot of things. I think you've all seen that I'm kind of toe the line of burnout quite often, and I also am in burnout quite often because of it. Financially, I've just not been in a great place for a long time, and I've been trying to get out of it. Since pandemic, I couple of years ago had to move back with my mum because of difficulty in finances, and I'd never been in debt before the pandemic ever, and I had to move out of my place, and I also had to move out of my place because I had stalkers anyway. That was a very difficult time, and basically that's why I don't say where I live, what city I live, or what town I live, village, because of that. But I'm happy to say I'm from the UK. I am in England, pretty much. And line of work, I have ADHD, by the way, if you didn't know. I juggle, gosh. So one of the things I do that is not every day, and it's actually not every month at the moment, is I work in the gaming industry. I am a tech support operative. I also provide support at gaming events, previews, launches. I worked at Gamescom for 8 years, and like doing behind the scenes work, making sure that we supply tech, computers and consoles to whoever needs it. We have massive clients. You will all have heard of all of our clients. They're massive names in the gaming industry, or console names, or PC names. Games we've worked with tons. Did a lot, like basically every game you've ever heard of that's big, and also lots of indie games. I did a bit of work earlier this year, and I'm allowed to talk about it, I think, but I don't want to go into it right now, just in case. But big names in the gaming world, which I'm quite proud of, and we're a great team. But just the jobs aren't as common now. They're quite few and far between. And my last job was with them in August, so it's not financially viable to have that as my only job. So that's one of my many freelance jobs. I've also been a model, haven't had any modelling jobs for a while. I also do content, many different types of content and different industries. I also do gaming and Twitch stuff and things relating to Twitch gaming content, which I haven't been keeping up with actually too much. And I do disciplinary services, and that's as far as I go there. But yeah, not music or art, actually. Though I kind of wish I did one of the two. It's not so lucrative for me, but I understand that people can do well from it. So, Blaze 44_22 said, "At what age did you get diagnosed for ADHD and autism?" At the age of 51, I've come to the realization I'm likely to be on the spectrum, but have never been diagnosed. It's very common in adults because there's a lot more research done now. It's not a trend. Some people think it's a trend. There's a lot more research into it, and there's a lot more communication now than there was 50 years ago, right? 50 years ago, we didn't even have the internet. We were sending messages and letters to each other by post, if it would ever get there. And we didn't have information at our fingertips. Now, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of misdiagnosis. But we know our own bodies, right? Most of us kind of understand ourselves. I got diagnosed for ADHD, I think 2 years ago, 2020. It might have been 2022. For ADHD, and then I got diagnosed again for ADHD this year, 2025, a few months ago. That was because I went private because I'd had enough of being dismissed by my doctor, my GP, who kept saying I probably just have depression, which is actually a result of the ADHD, being depressed and frustrated with my body and my mind, and didn't understand why I couldn't just do it. It's a very difficult thing when you've got ADHD, actually. And I fought for that really hard. I went with Right to Choose. If anyone is struggling with the NHS, please go via Right to Choose. It's quicker, it's a bit more streamlined, and it's exactly the same as if you were to go with the NHS, minus the 4 or 5 year wait time that there is now. It was a really difficult journey, and I'll probably talk about that more in another video. Autism, I just got diagnosed like a couple of months ago. I knew I had ADHD probably, my friend told me in 2017. My friend Emily told me she'd had ADHD, an ADHD diagnosis. I think it was 2017 or 2018 that she told me. She basically just said quite casually, like, "Oh, you know, you've got ADHD," and I was just like, "Oh, wait, whoa, do I?" I knew that my moods were erratic. I knew that I was all over the place. I knew that something was wrong. I always knew something was wrong. In school, we were like gifted and talented. I didn't know that was autism strengths, and there was a lot of pressure on things because of that. I was also, my ability to hand coursework in on time was it was quite a miracle, actually. It was quite something. I would have art coursework, and I would do a whole year's worth of art coursework in about 3 days. And I'm not a coffee drinker, but I remember I would drink coffee like there was no tomorrow when I was at school and college. And there are a lot of signs over the years that we had. My twin sister and I had ADHD and autism. I didn't know I had autism until my twin sister said last year, "Oh, yeah, it's so obvious, isn't it?" My twin sister has a daughter, my niece, and she was diagnosed with autism at quite a young age. We thought she was not going to be verbal. She was non-verbal. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kay, in the comments. Handmade Heart is. But I think she was about 3 when she was diagnosed, which is very young particularly for girls. But it's quite obvious, and she's now 11, and has special educational needs, and people talk about it being genetic, and we realise that a lot of our traits are just not as obvious as Lily's might be, but nevertheless they are there, and they are more apparent the more we realise that we've been masking for a long time. My whole autism diagnosis was about masking, eye contact, which I still, even with the camera, I try and do it a lot more, but with people it's very difficult for me. There was a lot of things about getting things, understanding things immediately, like spotting sarcasm or whatever, cues from other people. I think I obsess about cues from other people rather than don't see cues from other people. I overthink a lot of things, and I overanalyze a lot of things because of it. But there are some people that don't quite get those, and sarcasm, I understand it a lot, but there are times where I don't, and there's a whole diagnosis and report that I can go through. I'd love to do a separate video on that if people are interested, because it's a very sensitive subject, and a lot of people dismiss it, but I do like to talk about it, raise awareness, and especially because I got my diagnoses in my 30s, when I was 36 and 38, just before my 39th, I think, or was it just after? I can't remember. They were quite powerful, and they've actually helped me a lot more in understanding myself. I've got a book by Dr. Devon Price about unmasking autism. That's been very tough for me because I have masked a lot, and I guess I present as someone who might not have autism to some people. But yeah, you can't always spot it immediately, but there are so many traits that I could go through and explain each one, and maybe that would help others spot things, but maybe not, who knows. A lot of people my age, older, millennial or older, will not have been spotted or will not have been diagnosed because as far as I understood at a young age, to have ADHD or ADD, you'd be bouncing off the walls. Physically, I don't bounce off the walls, and sometimes I actually look bored or sound bored. But in my head, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of cogs going there, and it made a lot of sense when they told me I had inattentive ADHD and impulsive ADHD and some other. There were hyperactive tendencies as well. It was more mental than physical. There are different types of ADHD, and that's why some people might not understand it at first. They're like, you're not jumping around, you're not trying to use up all your energy. But there are bursts of that as well, and there are sometimes I might burst out with something loud and immediately regret it. There are other ways of that presenting. And it's never too late. If you want a diagnosis for whatever reason, it's never too late. I will say there is a lot of grief that comes with it. Grief in like wishing you understood yourself more. It's funny how we live our lives, and for me there was the period of getting diagnosed, and I'm like, God, I thought I knew myself. And it's almost like you're kind of seeing the world through different eyes, or just things become clearer, but also thinking, gosh, how did I not how did I not see this, or how did I not realize this? But it's society and the world we live in. And the whole thing about research and not knowing enough, and people not sharing this information as freely as we can now. I think that's all it is. Gosh. Bandmade Fan ATL says, you mentioned something about helping someone drive, I think. Do you have kids that age? So my friend Mia, and my mod, she's my mod in on Twitch, one of, she recently got a car, and she's been driving a motorbike for years, but she wanted a car and she wanted to do a driving test. And obviously to learn, you have to have someone in the car who can drive and has been driving for a long time. So I've been driving since 2006, and I offered to help. She did pass her test first time, by the way. Everyone say congrats, Mia, in the comments. That was on Saturday. So I was helping my friend Mia. She's not a child, or she's not a kid. She's not a kid of mine. She's more like a mother to me, in fact. Do you have kids that age? I do not have kids. I personally, kids won't be for me. I can't have kids. I don't want to have kids either, thankfully. And it's a sensitive subject for some people. Thankfully, my partner doesn't want kids either. And so we're in quite a good position there. Whilst I think it's a beautiful thing for people to bring children into the world, I just think it's not, it wouldn't be right for me anyway. I love my niece. I love seeing her grow and learn, and she's hard work, but she's worth all the time and effort. But yeah, I wouldn't be able to. I don't think. That's a personal choice anyway. I have had a lot of people say, "Oh, but why don't you? You should before it's too late." But actually, I see that as people pushing their own wants and beliefs onto me, and their values of what they believe you should do in life. And for me, in life, I want to see the world. I want to experience all the music, and I want to live it. And I just feel like it wouldn't be right for me to bring a child into the world. I do have a cat. We have two cats, actually. You've probably seen Owlie quite a bit in my videos. And funnily enough, before I started filming these, Owlie didn't really hang out with me in my room, but he started stealing my chair. So sometimes you'll see him behind me, but he's not there today. I've actually got, my cat is called Paul. So Owlie is the cat that was with my mum. He was my twin sister's cat, but she went to Australia for a while. So my mum adopted Owlie, and Travis at the time was her other cat. And I had Paul the girl cat. This is Paul the girl cat when she was a baby then. Yeah, she's upstairs, probably in my sock drawer or my knicker drawer right now, because no matter where I move them, she always goes back to those two. Dan said, my wife and I will be visiting London in a couple of years. We're going on a cruise from and back to Southampton, but we'll spend a few days in London right before the cruise. What would be your top 5 things we should see and do in London? Interesting question, because I don't actually live in London, but I did live there for a while. I have lived there in London. So I would say, what would I say? Oh, Shakespeare's Theatre, the Globe Theatre. That's quite cool. It's a bit of history. I love history. I love architecture and art, and that kind of combines all of them. So I'd say make sure you get down to the Globe Theatre. Also, when I was working there for a while, my friend Peter and I, and a few others would do this actually in the end, but my friend Peter and I started off this little tradition of walking along the bank side. So my advice, if you were to plan a route, we would walk along the bank side from either London Bridge towards Westminster or Charing Cross. more Westminster, because that's where you find the London Eye. And so if you go from London Bridge, there's like the Clink Museum. We used to walk past that. And then you go along the river, basically. Bankside is like along the river banks. It's not called the Banks River, though. It's the Thames. It's not as glamorous. The water's not that great. It's brown most of the time. But yeah, we have. What did we do along there? There were like a couple of old pubs along the way. There's a pub that is one of the oldest in London that survived the Great Fire. I'm not a massive drinker, but if I'm appreciating going out to see a city, that's nice in there. And then you've got one of my favourite things to see and go into was the Tate Gallery. The Tate Modern, because Tate Britain is the older one, I think. Yeah, Tate Modern. Love an art gallery. Love going to see what's on. That's very cool. What else can you... And then I guess if you go further along, you'll see the London Eye and all the other stuff to do. I also love... the National Gallery is very pretty. Architecture. I can't remember where that is in London. It might be like near King's Cross. Something like that. We used to go to the Science Museum, the History Museum, the National Art Gallery. So all of those kind of things are cool. Tower of London, bit of history as well. And a bit further out from the city, the Maritime Museum and Greenwich Park. That was pretty. That was in the summer though. So, yeah. Where else? Trying to think. Well, I mean, that's plenty to get on with, right? Well, you got Westminster Abbey as well, and Big Ben. I guess they're like the big touristy things to do. I sometimes like doing the less touristy things, but that would be just like silly little. Those were like bars and galleries and stuff. I like the gallery. I do like the big galleries as well. So Dan, I hope you have a great cruise. In a couple of years. So it could be in the summertime. But either way, no matter what the day, what kind of day it is, you can go visit, right? Triangles and Circles said, what part of the world do you call home? England, UK. You look very young. How old are you? What's young? I'm 39. I was born in 1986, and even I don't believe that sometimes, but I do. I guess I do feel it to an extent. That, and I do have scoliosis, so my back's already fucked. Although not, I think to look at me, not everyone would realise that I have scoliosis. I have this. You probably can now that I've said it, but this shoulder is higher than this one. Scoliosis is a curve of your spine, and mine's curved. I think it's only about 18 degrees off, which seems a lot, and it is a lot. But when they showed us our x-rays when we were younger, my twin sister, hers was like double mine. And so she had a back brace, but they never gave me a back brace. We both have issues with it now. Sadly, she gets disability, which is she's entitled to it. Because of the pain, and there's not a lot they can do. They won't do surgery unless it's, I don't know what the terms are of that, but at the moment it's just pain meds or physio, and whilst that might help temporarily, it doesn't go away. So yeah, surgery is kind of the better option, but I think there's a lot of dangers to it that are a bit scary. I've never been offered that. I don't have disability, but I suffer just as often. Pretty much, there's most days there's pain for whatever reason. Just some you just have to go through it, don't you? I take a lot of painkillers, although not all the time, because I know they're bad for you, but I'm taking painkillers a lot for my back. But yeah, weirdly, my twin sister gets disability, as she should, and I've been refused 3 times. It's not fair. It's not fair, but that is what it is. I've got a special chair for my back. I got this for free just from my gaming. It was like a promotion, or like my friend worked for a company and was like, "Hey, you have back issues. Would you mind trying out this chair?" It's called a Thunder X3 loft chair in grey, and I got it from Overclockers. They kindly sent me one, but it is when I sit back in it, it's really good because it's got this bit's a bit more firm and it moves with your back, so I should use that a lot more as well, especially because right now I am having a bit of a bad pain day, but whatever. Gosh, 41 minutes. I think we'll see how far we get in an hour, and then we'll continue these questions in another video, perhaps. Maybe. Kevin, I'd be interested to hear what you liked listening to before this adventure took off. Honestly, that is really difficult to answer, because a lot of people ask, and I'm like, gosh, loads. Linkin Park, Paramore, Nirvana, Funeral for a Friend, Alexis on Fire. My sister and I like Alexis on Fire, and Take It Back Sunday, just randomly. Rise Against, Bring Me the Horizon, Architects. I've got an Architects tattoo. Evanescence, Creed. Basically, there are quite a few, and they're quite varied, perhaps. But even there are a lot of bands that even then, even if I've mentioned them, I might not have heard a certain album. Or Don Broco, love Don Broco. I might not have heard a certain album, and I might not have listened to them recently. Or a certain period. Like I loved a lot of Paramore's earlier stuff, but their more recent stuff, not so much. I haven't listened to it a lot, or I haven't had time to sit down. So even Taking Back Sunday, my sister and I went to so many of their gigs back in like 2007. I think I discovered them in 2004 at Reading Festival, and they had this song called "This Photograph is Proof." And they don't play it at any of their live shows anymore. But I remember hearing that at one festival, and then it came on again, and I was like, oh my God, that's that band. I must find out more about this band. Architects, they're a band that made me feel really existential sometimes, but got me through some hard times. And there's loads of that. Linkin Park were a band that kind of got me into rock genres in the first place. I used to kind of almost back before I became I was always a good person. I think we were brought up with morals, at least, but there was a short period of time in school where I felt judgmental on what people listened to, and I got judged for what I wore, how I looked like. So I mean, I didn't bully anyone, but like, still silently judging people is not cool, and I'm not proud of that. And it didn't last long, because I quickly realised that judging someone for liking rock bands is a fucking stupid, hypocritical thing of me to do, because I actually really enjoyed that kind of music. But yeah, there was a short period of time where I felt like society taught me that's rubbish. There I was watching wrestling playing video games, doing like loads of nerdy stuff, and I thought listening to rock music was sad. But then also I liked Nirvana because my mum played quite a bit of Nirvana when we were young, and I love Nirvana now. I think they're great. So yeah, one of my aunts as well lived in Chicago for a while, and she brought back some music. I remember she brought back a Disturbed album, and I don't even know if it was like it might have been a demo actually. No, she did. They had released an album, and she told me that they played in her bar in Chicago quite a few times. And she also gave me the Chocolate Starfish, the Limp Bizkit album, and I thought that was cool. And I thought Eminem was cool for a while. Yeah, there were some of those bands before this eventually took off. They're kind of a small selection, but I could probably talk about tons of those. I'd probably do a separate video on that as well, maybe. I don't know. What's your favourite song of all time? That is a really difficult one to answer. Wait, Kevin Payne asked the last one as well, so thank you, Kevin. The Operator 326. Favourite song of all time? Yeah, it's very difficult. I've recently, so I loved a lot of Linkin Park. There are so many poignant ones. There are so many meaningful ones. I think one that has recently shot to the top that I haven't listened to enough since hearing it, but I've listened to it a few times, is Nightwish, The Greatest Show on Earth. The meaning behind it, the fact that we are all lucky to have been born. There is a very small chance of making it to be alive, of things going right, and whatever science working out, and all of these factors, that it is an absolute miracle that any one of us are walking on this earth. I mean, how creation started, and we've all come from something, and there's all this. It's just, there's a lot of mystery around things, or like not full clarification, and I think that's quite incredible that we are here right now on this earth for whatever reason, and that is a gift. And I will try and remind myself that often when I slip into really dark places and dark times, because I've been there. And that Nightwish song is really important. Another song that I've discovered recently was Ren's Dominoes, and it just, I think they should play it in the education system. I think they should put that in the syllabus or in the schedule for what they teach kids, because it talks about the effects of bullying and creating insecurity in people, society, and selling insecurity sells. It's a thing, but so many people just dismiss it as, oh, it's just the way it is. But that's because we allow it to stay the way it is. And I know it's not an easy thing to undo what society has created. It's very difficult to undo any of that. It's for me as an autistic person, it's really hard for me to unmask and try and work out how to do that, because I'm so used to something. If it's all you know, then of course it's difficult. But I think there is a lot of power behind these works of art, and just bringing them to people's attention is one very small thing that we can do, but it's a thing, right? So favorite song of all time, though, that is really difficult. I like a lot of like 80s power ballads and stuff as well. Bon Jovi. My mum brought us up on a lot of different music. Kate Bush, she loved Kate Bush, but I haven't listened to a lot of that. There's just too many to even mention. Beowulf has said, what has been your favourite game this year? Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. Please remind me, friends, to do a video on the soundtrack of Clair Obscur. It is some of the most beautiful pieces of music you will hear. Is it symphonic? I think it's a little bit symphonic. It's gorgeous, fantasy sounding. Baldur's Gate 3 music is also spectacular, and I went to a thing earlier this year where there was a we got to see the Philharmonic Orchestra play some soundtracks from games, and it was incredible. I absolutely love that kind of experience. I don't go to those experiences enough, money and such, but I got invited as a PR invite to that, and it was one of the best things I've ever been to. I was just sat there in absolute awe the whole time, and that's why I love just seeing an orchestra perform and seeing someone sing. Stunning, beautiful. So yeah, games in terms of like soundtrack and story, and games that make me cry. I love a game that makes me cry. There's a pattern going here, isn't there? Gosh, I like to feel emotions. Michael Valemont, I think 1 through 3. I've only met a few women that are as well rounded and as lovely in every sense of the word as you. Thank you. So many people have given me compliments like this, and said about how I'm a nice person and how I'm caring and compassionate, and what I'm doing is a really good thing. And I just want to take a moment, because there are 20,000 of you. I want to take a moment to thank you for that. That has really reassured me. I still have those silly voices in my head that tell me I'm not worthy of being here, that I'm just reacting to things. Why would anyone care about that? I'm cheating. I'm not really supposed to be here. I shouldn't be deserving of this. I know it's all bullshit. I know that. I can't help but sometimes have that imposter syndrome voice that's there that makes me doubt myself. So thank you, because when people say that this is a really powerful thing, or I've inspired them, or showed them that their autistic daughter, or their daughter that has ADHD, or the son can look to me for inspiration. I mean that's quite a big thing, but to know that it's possible to do this. I couldn't speak. I couldn't talk to a camera 8 years ago. It's taken me a very long time to be able to feel like I'm talking to a friend, and not so nervous that I forget all of my vocabulary very easily. I still forget my vocabulary when I'm in front of a camera, but it's a lot easier to get through. And I promise you, practice. Putting yourself outside of your comfort zone is really difficult, especially as an autistic person, I think. But it's been worth it for me, and not as uncomfortable as I thought it might be. I mean, it has been uncomfortable so often, but this is the result. So yeah. Please tell me, is your mother equally amazing? Michael, are you trying to hit on my mum before you've even met her? Can't believe this. Moving on. Dakota G, 1960. First tattoo, and maybe the reason or non-reason you got it. Oh gosh. Was it of high school bands that you like? Oh, this is more more questions. But I'll be sharing high school bands that I loved, if I can think of some. There are a lot of emo bands in there. My Chemical Romance, 30 Seconds to Mars, really great. Love their music. Hawthorne Heights, that kind of era. But I used to like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Dream, that kind of era as well. O-Town. LFO. I used to be the pop got me, man. It got me before I turned to the good stuff a bit more. But it's okay. We're allowed to enjoy other bits. Any music recommendations that might be niche or unknown, I will share those in the coming future, I think. First tattoo, and the reason I got it. So this is why when I get tattoos, I plan them usually years in advance. I have a whole folder of designs, and I put a date on when I put a new one in, or one that I've enjoyed, one that I like, one that I might have drawn. I put that in, and I leave it there. And then I come back to it a few years later, and if I still like it, I'm happy to get it. If there are some where I've gone, don't really like that, so we'll get rid of that. And I think it's very important to know what you want. This is going to be on you for life, so it doesn't matter if you have to wait a year or two, because in theory you've got a few years left to have it, hopefully. We will hope. My first tattoo was a star on my wrist. Now you can't see that star on my wrist because I as soon as I got it, it was like everyone and their mother had a star tattoo on their wrist. A singer had it, Ashley Simpson. I didn't get it because of her. In fact, I didn't want it because she had it too. I used to just draw a star on my wrist. When I was in college, which is sixth form, it's not university like people in America say. I was 17, 18, and I drew a star on my wrist, and I drew it in pen quite often. And someone was like, you should get that tattooed. And I was like, it saved me doing that, wouldn't it? And so I got one. And I didn't regret it straight away, but I think soon people started noticing, and then I noticed everyone had star tattoos. For some reason, I went off stars very quickly. I didn't like stars as much. I wasn't a fan of star tattoos. Each their own. Do what you like. But for me personally, I didn't like star tattoos, and I didn't want a star tattoo. And I was like, oh God, at least it was just an outline of a star, and I've covered it up with something that reminds me of my grandma, one of my grandmas that passed in 2014, which doesn't feel like that long ago now, but yeah, that reminds me of her. I've got lots of tattoos. I should go on a tattoo tour. I've got lots on my legs, my feet, my back, my neck, my arms. Not enough, honestly. I've got one here. That was my most painful. But we'll keep reminding me of these things. Tattoo tour, ADHD, and autism stuff, etc., etc. Yeah, the reason I got it was just because I kept drawing it on my wrist, but then I decided I didn't want it anymore because lots of people had star tattoos. Despite the fact I have like roses, I have loads of roses. I have things that people have, but a lot of them are like things that I've drawn, or someone else has drawn that I know, and I wanted them on here. That's a horse. Or I've designed like my own Star Wars tattoo and stuff like that, so no one else will have it in the way I've got it because I designed it and positioned things. Duskwind, sci-fi or fantasy? I'm gonna go fantasy. And the reason sci-fi would be like, I'd go Star Wars. Fantasy, I'd go Lord of the Rings. My favourite thing to watch, movies to watch, are the Lord of the Rings trilogy, extended versions. I don't even think that should need to be said, but must clarify, FYI. And The Hobbit. But Lord of the Rings. So gotta go fantasy. Yeah. Yep. Right, we're nearly at an hour, but we haven't got many more questions. obviously you've experienced many new bands over the past months. Which were most surprising and which have been top of your likes? Oh, that's unfair because there are so many. Ren, Nightwish, The Warning. Why have I forgotten? I want to go. I'm gonna have to go through what I've released because there are so many. Ginger kind of started off this explosion of the channel, so thank you to Ginger. Someone I know said to me, because I'd already done a couple of Don Broco reaction videos. I did one to Caskets. I did one to... Who did I do that to? Currents I did one to. So I was doing a couple of reaction videos. I did vlogging, so I still do vlogging, although I just haven't been to a gig in a little while. But I did like Download Festival vlog, 2000 Trees Festival vlog, went to wrestling shows, went to see Deaf Heaven with my partner, went to Day to Remember. These are all videos that you'll find on my channel, the first ones I posted. And then I did a few reaction videos, and I edited them a lot. I spent hours editing them, and I was like, God damn, can't I just do a reaction where I just don't edit? Because there are reaction videos on my gaming channel that did better than my edited ones, and I was like, great, I don't even have to edit these. I was like, what if I just do that on here? And a friend of mine said, you should check out Ginger. I'd heard of Ginger, and I was like, yeah, I still haven't heard of them. So I was like, I'll do them on my reaction channel then. And it did really well. It had a lot of people talking because I didn't watch a video, so I didn't see Tati doing the harsh vocals, and I thought it was a male voice, and I thought that there was a woman singing and a man doing the harsh. And it's a prime example not to judge something or someone from the sound of their voice. And then I had suggestions on the live performance of Pisces, and it just exploded. So, and it went from there, and we had a Bandmade suggestion. I did Bandmade, and that exploded. And then we did a few more Ginger. We definitely going to do more Ginger, more Bandmade. Spirit Box, love Spirit Box. I actually listened to the Mara Effect earlier. That's quite a long video as well. What I did, it's about an hour long, but that was very interesting. I've done the Pain Remains trilogy by Lorna Shore. Lorna Shore have surprised me. The vocals on that are insane. Half the time I'm like, what the fuck? But there's something about them that's really cool. And I know Will has only recently joined them, or wasn't always with them. Ren, yep. The Warning, yep. I love The Warning. A lot of their songs pop into my head quite often. Where I'm listening to so much music, I didn't know it was possible to like retain info and remember things, but I get a lot of songs that repeat in my head. Electric Callboy as well, another great one. President, I've been intrigued by President. Not sure how I feel on them yet. It feels quite overproduced with their sound, but I like the harsh side to their sound, and I do like the heavier bits, but not sure. I think in time we'll find out more about what their message is or what they are doing. Love Bite's really fun. Tool was an unexpected one. I enjoyed Tool. I didn't know how much I could appreciate prog metal. Yeah. Who else have we done? Dimash was an interesting one. I actually did a reaction video the other day. It was the other week now, I think. and I'm in two minds about posting it. I think the Dimash fans are going to come for me. Dimash fans, please don't come for me. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed listening to, because he does classical music. I think he does a few different things, but he does classical music. But he's got a whistle tone, and it just didn't feel right for the sound of the song. But I can appreciate the pitch, and I don't know if I articulated that well enough to a fan base that can easily just come for you. Respectfully, I enjoy watching him. His voice is interesting. Blind Guardian have been fun. Imminence, I think Imminence are really underrated, actually. Violin core. The guy plays violin and does harsh vocals. Love it. Electric Callboy, absolutely loving them lately. Lorna Shore, absolutely loving them. More Dombroko, more Bandmaid. Silent Planet were interesting. I need to listen to more of their stuff. Pink Floyd, really enjoyed them. Can't believe I haven't listened to them sooner, properly. Didn't sit down and listen to them properly. Deficit were an interesting one. They just released a new banger. I actually really liked their second one as well. Rory was really fun. Loved Rory. Must listen to more of her stuff. She's a fellow ADHD gal. Nemophila, they're really fun. Loved them. Dead Poet Society as well. I was surprised by them. I thought they weren't going to be as fun for me, but they were brilliant. Their collab with The Warning was great. Arian, loved Arian. Relica, they're new for me. I really liked Relica. They tagged me in their Instagram recently. Arch Enemy, I heard their release, but I didn't realise that they've got a female screamer or female harsh vocalist. I didn't know that. Again, bad of me. Sleep Token, I'm really enjoying their stuff. I'll be going through their earlier work, so I have to share that soon. Marco Hietala, he's great. His song about neurodivergent struggles and late diagnosis and people not understanding, loved it. Epica are fantastic, and I'm absolutely going to see them next year. I've seen Lorna Shore, The Warning, Epica, Ginger. I'm not able to see Spirit Box, which is a pain. Sulphur, they were interesting. I haven't heard enough of those. Oh my god. I think my body's saying time to finish. Devin Townsend project was interesting. Sixth Sense was interesting. Atreyu, I was going back to my roots. I loved Atreyu back in the day. Haven't listened to them in years. The Midnight are really intriguing. I want to hear more from them. I like them. Hanabia, they're interesting. I still haven't heard enough from them, but I liked what I heard. Hailstorm, yes please. I'm gonna see them live. Can't wait. Queensryche seemed really cool. I must hear more from them because their first one was brilliant. A lot of these have come from like Ko-fi suggestions as well, which like I wouldn't have known about otherwise. June Turns Black, they're interesting. Avantasia. Calva Louise, yes. Baby Metal, yes. Baby Metal, I should know a lot more by them by this point, because I've known about them for years and I've even seen them live. But yeah, we're still experiencing Baby Metal as a new one. Dayseeker. I filmed a lot of Dayseeker. My last few videos that I've filmed are pretty much all Dayseeker. I think I've filmed about 9 videos of Dayseeker at this present moment. And I've posted 2. But yeah, I think I've got another 7 plus a solo, so kind of 8. I've got a lot of videos, man. Alright, there are lots of ones that I've enjoyed. I bought a Dayseeker t-shirt, I bought an Epica t-shirt, I bought a Nightwish t-shirt, I bought a Warning t-shirt. I think those are the t-shirts that I've bought so far. That kind of goes to show who I also really enjoy. Would love to get a few more. Would absolutely love to get a few more. Given that the rock music was in a decline, do you think some of the young up-and-coming artists will assist a resurrection in its popularity? I think music is always kind of regenerating. That's from Daryl, by the way. Thank you, Daryl. I think, yeah, it's an interesting one, because as we get older, there are during our lifetime there are things that I hear and I'm like, what the hell is this crap? But then there are quite amazing things that come out. Like there's something for everyone, and not everything will be something we enjoy, right? But I feel like there are a lot of things that can revive rock music in particular. Do you know, I feel like there's been a lot out there in recent years. Yeah, I think it's in less of a decline now, for sure. But I don't know if that's just because I'm opening my eyes up to it more as well myself. There's a lot more out there. I hope so, is the answer. There's a few more questions, but I think I'll come to that for another video. Who's my favourite reactor and why is it you? It's not quite the right question. I mean, it is a question. Thank you, Blaze4422. Thank you. Appreciate it. I don't know how I'm people's favourite reactors as well. I find that just absolutely mad. Mad. Adpocalyptic. Shout out to Ad, because he's been in my community for years. Years and years and years. Ad joined us, back in the early... was it during the pandemic? It might have even been just before that. But Ad's been part of the community for a long time. If you could suggest something that we haven't heard, should try, what would it be? Nightwish, the greatest show on earth. Hands down, everyone must listen to it. It's a long one. I've shared the video in my description of my reaction, so that's, yeah. Mia asked this question the other day, actually. I saw it pop up and it said, what's nine it's not cute, it's not 9 squared, the other one. 9 to the power of 3. 9 to the power of 3 is 9 times 9 times 9. 9 times 9 times 9. 729. No, it's not. No, it's not. I think we did this before, didn't we? 9 times 9 is 81, right? And then 81 times 9. Yeah, it is 729. 729 then. I'm doubting myself now. Have you ever been to the States? Yes, I have, Chef Daddy. I have been to various places. My younger sister lives in the States and has lived out there for 10 years now, I think. So I visit when I can. Tend to visit Vegas, but like to go to California quite a lot. Been to, where did we go last time? Philadelphia, because we went there for WrestleMania. LA was WrestleMania as well. I've been to LA quite a lot because I did some modelling stuff there. There's I don't know if anyone's heard of Suicide Girls, which is not sinister as it sounds. It's about committing social suicide and not going along with the crowd. And anyway, yeah, I'm a model for them. So I went out there a few times for that, and also just to see what it was like. I feel like I've been to LA too many times. I feel like I've seen it all, but I also haven't. Where else have I been? I've been to Florida a few times. Been to There's a lot of states I haven't been to. Best live concert you've been to, Anthony Gray asks. Linkin Park live at Download, because I got to see Chester Bennington perform one of their greatest albums in full. We had Hybrid Theory in full. I think it was Hybrid Theory. It was fantastic. I think Bring Me the Horizon were just before them as well. I like Bring Me the Horizon. But getting to see Linkin Park, the band that got me into this music. I also like Blink-182. That was one I didn't mention. I should write this down. Yeah, Linkin Park just live with Chester was something that I never knew would. But it was special back then, but now it's like just priceless. Very, I don't get affected by a lot of like celebrity deaths or stuff like that, or I do, in a sense that I feel I get very sad about loss and death of someone, but I don't know the person and I didn't meet the person and I didn't get to know them. But with Chester, it just felt very heartbreaking. So that was a good question. Live or music video, and how does not understanding the language of the song affect your enjoyment? Oh, Alan Moga. I think you can sort of see the bit of this question, but it stopped. It honestly depends on on what you're listening to, doesn't it? I like watching, if there's a music video and a live version, I do like watching both. I'm just always worrying if people will want to see both, but I think people have kind of reassured that they like seeing both and people can skip through. So I think it's good if you can have the two to compare. When I first started doing these reaction videos, I didn't understand why people wanted me to watch live versions so badly, because for me, growing up, you would hear the original version first, then you would hear live. So I would do it more that way, as conventionally that's what I thought was a bit more logical. You hear the original and then you'd hear whether the live was as good. And some people like asked me to react to a song, the live version first, and I found it quite bizarre because I'm like, well, how do I know what the original's supposed to sound like? And I think people that are really passionate about it are like, well, you don't need to, do you? And it kind of made a bit more sense, and I think it made more sense with the people that are quite passionate about certain bands. There are, as I found, there will be people that are only here for their band, and it is what it is. That's fine. But yeah, there will be people that want me to react to a live version of something, and it's probably because they've seen them 1,000 times. So for my first watch, they want me to see something, and hopefully I enjoy it as much as I should. But sometimes I worry that I might not give the same reaction to something that someone wants. But I just do me, right? That's all I can do. I'm gonna stop there. But in terms of, I don't think the language of a song can depending on the song, you can be moved by something you don't know the words to it. I do believe that. I do believe that can be a thing. Someone also asked, is music universal? And then they shared a video of someone playing music and a tiger came over. So yes, music is universal. Right. So that's most of the questions, and I'm very mindful that we're on 1 hour and 20. Thank you so very much to everyone that has been a part of this journey so far. I am very grateful if you join me going forward. Life gets in the way though, and for whatever reason, if you are here right now, that's all that matters. Thank you. am so grateful that I can do this a bit more, and hopefully one day we'll be able to do it full-time, officially full-time, without too much worry about everything else and spinning all the plates. I really wish I could just put some of those plates down and just focus on this tower that you guys have built. Honestly, I can't thank you enough for that. Like that really means a lot, that there are people here that care about what I have to say and actually are intrigued by it. This is not I realise that, you know, trying to do things and charging like for Patreon stuff and stuff, it's a natural part of what people do, and it's a way to get further access or things, and compensate for my time. So I try and do it creatively, or, you know, with incentives in mind. Joining Patreon, for example, means that you can get one free song request for the month that's up to 6 minutes, which is quite great when you think of Ko-fi being almost the same price. And you also get lots of blocked videos that I can't post publicly on YouTube. And there are lots of other perks in there. You can join the Discord and stuff like that. God, my body is really saying no. I have just set up a merch store, and nobody has to buy anything. There's no pressure. But if anyone wants me to share that link and add it to my socials or my Linktree or whatever, just let me know. I'm still going through like adding different things. I've added some black and white t-shirts with black and white logos, but I've also got pink. And in fact, there are, I haven't shown you that, have I? Gosh. I wonder if I can just maybe a little bit. I would have to just very quickly show you this. Basically, this is a preview of one of the logos. And then I promise I will get some water. That's one of my logos. That's one. We have that in black and white as well. And hopefully I'll be able to sell some sell some merch if people want it. Anyway, thank you so very much. Thank you. That was what I wanted to do as like a 20k celebration as well. Launch a merch store. But I'm still working on it because I'm working on a lot of things. I spend a lot of time yapping. And now I really have to go. And on that note, thank you so much. No tears. Bye.